So here I have most of the brackets for the airbag set up for the front and the rear and the 4-bar. You can see there's 4 link bars and a panhard bar, which is longer. This is all from BC Fabrication. It's all bought in sort of kits. So when you're setting up a 4-link, you just basically want your bars to be as parallel to the ground or as level as possible. So you set your frame at about half of the travel, so about approximately ride height, half of the travel of your bag that you expect, and then you build based off of that. So I'm gonna build some brackets here, put some brackets on the rear end, make them as parallel as possible, like I said, and then obviously center the rear end this way, make sure it's appropriate wheelbase this way, back and forth. Now all this is gonna be based off the center of the travel, because each way that it travels, it's gonna articulate a little bit and it's gonna be different, just because your 4-link is gonna be on a radius when it travels. So you wanna set everything based off center and go based off that. Here I am beginning the setup of the 4-link. Now with this frame, you can see that the frame goes out and then back down. Well, if you have the bracket here wide enough so it clears the frame when it comes up, because you can see this is about ride height, it's going to come up and you want to make sure it clears. So in order to make it clear, you have to move this, mount this so it's 8 inches from the backing plate on this rear end specifically. But then if you look down there, you can see these bars are straight. Then it's about 3 inches from the side of the frame there, which is where I'm going to mount it. So what I'm going to have to do is somehow get this pipe to go this way, right? Well, if I lift this up and move it this way, then the bracket right here, you can see the gap in the bracket becomes large, because this one is they're both the same length. So in order for it to bend like that or be like that, you'd have to take off some off the inside of this bracket. So again, I'll show you what I mean. That's against the frame, which is approximately where I want it. Now look at this. So now I'm gonna move this back here straight again, and watch, you can see how this closes up. And there it's straight again. So in order to have this offset a little bit to clear this frame and make sure it's hunky-dory how I want it, I'm going to take that off and I'll round out a little bit more of this bracket, so it in turn makes that one shorter, so it's slightly mounted this direction. And then up front here, I have the 4-link mounts, the front 4-link mounts. Now I ordered this again as a 4-link kit, and it came with these notch brackets that I wasn't really a fan of. But if you use a 2x3 tubing or a 2x2 and a 1x2 piece of tubing to connect them like this, and then I actually cut a piece of steel to go in between here down at the bottom for a spacer, so that this has lateral support as well here, and then on the rear end here there's the obvious bracket. Now something that I'm not really a fan of on this bracket in particular is the location of the cutout for the rear end. It's towards the top of the bracket, which means that in order to have your 4-link bars parallel at ride height, means this bracket would have to be down underneath the frame, and you could never lay a frame because the bracket would hit. That's not good. So now I have that level at the bottom of the frame, but then you can see that these are a little bit past level, past parallel with the ground. It's a trade-off, but it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. It's still close. But on typical kits, or what I would recommend on a kit, is having this with the notch for the rear end lower down on this bracket, so it brings the bracket up higher this way, and then it would in turn make this more of a level shot, and it would also help your scrub line, because you can see there that if you get a flat tire, it's almost going to hit the bottom of this bracket. So that's just a couple things I would change. I welded these on, these weld-on bungs. I welded them at the stock length that I ordered these kit on, and this will be adjustable because this is a threadable rod end. Now, when you're welding on the bung like this, you want to make sure to have your rod end fully threaded through. So this is all the way through, and it's basically holding all the threads inside this bung to shape when I weld, because it'll get hot and it'll stretch. Otherwise, you'll have to re-tap out the bungs. 30 inches is usually about the recommended length, somewhere in there. So this one is, I believe, somewhere in 32-inch range. So last night I got this 4-link basically set up, as well as the notches cut in. And now if you notice on this 4-link, I actually put the bars slightly offset. So what I did here was I mounted this bracket so it was pointed in, and then I tilted that mounting bracket the opposite way, or the same direction, so there's no binding. Now this is essentially the same as doing an exactly parallel link. There's no binding and whatnot, but it allows you to have this end closer to the frame, because if this were straight, it would be over here, which on this application, here's the box. Here is where it mounts to the frame. There's the hole right here. So what I did was I measured from the center of the hole to this arm, which supports the box and the step, and that's 5.5 inches to the center of the hole. So now, because I did this, or because I noticed that the way this is set up, I'd have to notch stuff, I did this in a way that I wouldn't have to. So now you can see here that the edge of that bolt is about 5 3/8. So I actually have 1/8 of an inch of clearance. So I can set the box on there and not do any modifications. I won't have to cut out this brace here, and I won't have to widen this box or do anything weird with the outside of this to make up for that. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, well, oh, it's not good, it's called parallel because it has to be parallel. Well, if you look at a 32 Ford design back in the old days, here's one. This is on Wild Torquey, which is an insane street car, and it does just fine. You can see here that this link setup is not parallel either. The way this works, it goes up to the kingpin, and then it mounts under the frame, like so. Okay, so as long as you offset your brackets so that they're putting these in the correct plane, and there's no binding, there's no issue with doing it this way. The BC fabrication kit that I ordered came with these upper bag mounts, which I really don't like. They're kind of a dumb design in my opinion. You can only fit them in one spot, and that is right here, and you still have to extend the bracket. Just the way they're designed, you can obviously see that it can't go like that. So the only thing you can use this for is mounting on the top bar. You can't mount it anywhere else with the way this bracket is made. Well, if you mount it on the top bar, it's not gonna sit. It's not gonna lay like it's supposed to, because you need at least 3.5 inches. And also, if you even did use this mount, like this, I'll show you again. You have all that weight on this little 1.5-inch tube. Now this is 1.5 inches, it's about 3/16 sidewall, and that's, in my opinion, not enough strength to support this. Now you could theoretically, if it's set up perfect, you could theoretically put bracing in here, like diagonal bracing, but then you wouldn't have adjustment of the pinion angle, so you wouldn't have that adjustability, which is important if you don't set it up properly, exactly proper. So what I'm gonna do, here's the lower bag mount. So these are in the kit. This is kind of a nice little setup here. It comes with these 2 L's, which have the radiuses cut out, and then you have the bottom plate, which you weld on whichever direction you want. I elected to have it this direction. This goes on this axle like so. So now you can see that the bag mount is lower, which will keep everything lower. So now I can just build something, a mount that comes off of the frame rail inside here versus having something up above. This will keep everything low so I don't have to raise the box floor. The only thing I do have to relocate is the shock tower setup, so I'm gonna I welded this in thinking I would put the bags in the rear, but it didn't fit because of the panhard bar setup. So what I'm actually gonna do is, like I said, cut out the shock mounts and mount my bags right here, and then I'll figure out the shock mounts after that. Sits pretty low. It's about 4 inches off the ground at the rocker, which is pretty good. I might be able to get it down a little bit more by cutting the lower bag cups, trimming them a little bit so that it raises the A-arm up, which in turn lowers the truck. So yeah, other than that, it's coming along. Just a lot of little stuff. And I'll have probably about 110 hours into this build by the time it's done here with just this frame and suspension stuff and brakes. Way because it's not perfectly geometric, but it works. The hell, where'd that air leak come from?